I want to backtrack just for a second and just kind of continue our series on codependency. And as I mentioned last week, right now we're concentrating primarily on the recovery process from codependency. I spent most of last week talking about the first two stages of recovery. I talked about the concept of education, of learning, and I talked about building and developing a strong, healthy recovery family. Now, I bring that out strongly because tonight we're going to talk about a concept which is referred to as self-parenting. We're going to talk about the fact that so many of us in growing up as children never learned how to meet our own personal needs. Many of us never learned how to identify them. And so many times we have a tendency to meet other people's needs, to do things for them. But very many times we have a tendency to forget somebody. We forget ourselves. You know, I talk about this in my own journey because I know a good portion of my life, right into my late 40s, I literally spent most of my life giving to others. And I'm finally learning the value of being able to work on yourself. Many of us also in our family systems have a many of our family systems have a tendency very many times to want to always help somebody else. But realize something. In helping somebody else, we have to make sure we have something we can share with them. And we can't do it for them. So tonight I want to talk about that beautiful principle called self-parenting. How to identify my needs and how to get them met from healthy persons, places, and things. Again, one of the dangers we run into, so many of us have what I call the disease of expectation. I expect certain people to understand. I expect them to be there for me. I expect them to be on board. I expect them to constantly be in touch with where I am. Now, the thing we have to try to understand is that just because we are working on ourselves and just because we are growing doesn't mean that everyone else will. We have to learn not to look towards others, but to look towards our own self. And it's so easy in the course of our journey to kind of look into the other person's eye and not to look into our own. And so the recovery process we're talking about is how I take care of me, how I'm able to grow as a person. But in order to do that, I have to be able to get my needs met from people that are healthy. Now, one of the dangers for adult children in codependence is that so many of us don't know how to identify our needs. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody, okay? If you actually try to analyze this, you will make yourself totally crazy. Because so many of us figure, I can figure this whole thing out. Well, if you can, please call me. I want to be your manager. There's a technique that we use. I'm going to share that technique with you. Last week when you left here, those of you that were here, I made a suggestion to you. I suggested that you sit down and that you write a composition entitled My Fantasy Family. Now, one of the things that we try to do in getting you to write that is, first of all, to learn how to let go. And secondly, to open up the creative juices inside of you. See, children have no problem with their imagination. Children have no problem with the world of fantasy. But we do. So try this if you haven't tried it already. I'm not going to take a quiz and see how many have and how many haven't. Okay? I'll be good tonight. But one of the things we ask people to do is to sit down, make believe you're a little child getting ready to be born. And then you have the power to create the family you always wanted. Now, why do we do that? Believe it or not, in using your imagination and using your creativity, you are actually, not even knowing it, identifying all of your personal needs. And that's the secret, to get us to identify them without knowing we're doing it. See the concept? So as a result then, in fantasy, many times we experience different phases of reality. I'll show you what I mean. In writing mine quite a few years ago, I kind of did my fantasy family in the following way. I created a mother that would give me space, give me distance, and allow me to be a child. I created a father that would take me to baseball games, play catch with me, and do all the things that daddies do with little boys. I basically, in my fantasy, I created a family with 9 brothers and sisters. You got to remember, I was an only child. Also, my family system, I wanted to live on a beach, far away from everything, and the closest house I wanted to be 3 miles next to me. Now, think about that fantasy family for a few moments. And when I was able to finally take a look at it and realize what it was teaching me, first of all, one of the big things I really have to work on in my journey in life, one of my needs, is to be able to be connected to people that will not try to control me, possess me, or try to run my life. I need to be able to have a sense of independence so I can make decisions. I can listen to others. At the same time, the final decisions belong to me, not to somebody else to make them for me. And so very many times I'm learning in recovery today, I have the power to be able to learn how to come to a point where I can develop a sense of my independence and learn how to make decisions for myself as an individual. Secondly, as far as my father was concerned, I had certain needs as a little boy and as a child which weren't met. So instead of sitting around feeling sorry for myself, what I did in recovery, and that's where that recovery family comes into place, I asked one of my good friends if he would be my surrogate father. And so we got an opportunity, 2 of us got together, we talked about it, and we went and we spent 3 days in a place called Cooperstown, the Hall of Fame. We got to play catch together. We got to visit Doubleday Field. We got to do all the things I never was able to do as a kid. And it comes down to that wonderful bumper sticker. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. See, we can moan all day long about things that weren't done to us, things we didn't experience. Or, as an adult in recovery, I can learn to parent myself to get my needs met, but to ask people to help me meet them from people that are open to do this for me. It's part of a process we go through. In my fantasy family also, I wanted 9 brothers and sisters. I was very isolated as a child. And what that teaches me today is I need people in my life. I need to be connected to other people. I don't want to be a hermit. I want to be able to experience other people and learn from them. So today I've got plenty of brothers and sisters in recovery. It's fantastic. I've got a lot more than 9. It's unbelievable. That's the beautiful part about recovery today. I also wanted to live in a very peaceful and a very serene place. Growing up as a kid in South Camden, my house was Grand Central Station. I think I have about 65 Goomas and Goombas. I have no idea who they are. That's not important. I used to say to my dad, "Who is that?" "That's your Goomba." "Okay." "That's your Gooma." All right. So I got all these godmothers and godfathers. I didn't know who they are, but that's okay. It was always busy, 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 busy. One thing I love today, I need time and be able to make a place where I can feel serene, I can feel peaceful, I can feel a sense of calm. I need to be able to make that place for myself, and I have the power to do that today. I have the power to do things I never had the power to do before. And so in self-parenting, we're actually trying to teach people the value of being able to look at things in a positive way and the value of learning how to grow as an individual. But I've got to learn something. Once I identify my needs, then I have to learn how to get them met from people that are open to meet those needs with me. See, it's that surrogate concept. I'll give you an example of this. I'll give you a couple of examples. Back in 1988, actually I think it was 87, one of those 2 years anyway, I forget now which year it is. I'm a senior citizen, you got to put up with me. I don't always get the date exact anymore. But anyway, back then, I'll use that term. Back then, a lady in the program I had known for a long time called me up and she said, I need you to do me a big favor. And I said, what? She said, I'm getting married and I made a decision not to invite my father to my wedding. He came to my sister's wedding and just about destroyed the whole entire wedding because of his alcoholism, even to a point where we're totally embarrassed for the whole entire night. And she asked me, she said, would you mind being my surrogate dad? Sounds interesting. So I said yes, and I got the wonderful opportunity to walk her down the aisle, to give her away. I got to sit with her mom, and I got to dance to her to Daddy's Little Girl. It was fantastic. At that stage in my own journey, because I was just getting ready to get married, I didn't know whether I would ever experience that or not. With the grace of God, I have experienced that with my stepdaughters. But the concept is, I didn't know if I would or not. So it was a great experience for me as well as it was for her. See, she tried to teach us something. That each of us has a right. We have a right to create and to do things that work for us. We have a right to be able to literally take care of our personal needs. Another example. A young couple approached me quite a while ago, and they were getting ready to get married. And they were very upset. This young couple was in Narcotics Anonymous. They were very much upset. They had a lot of recovery time, and they're getting ready for their wedding. But they were a nervous wreck because they were going into that famous all weddings, called the battle of the families. Should we have alcohol? Should we do this? What will this one think? What will that one think? I'm inviting Aunt Susie from wherever she's coming from. I'm doing all this stuff and everything else. So they're in this battle about pleasing everybody. So I said, stop. Do me a favor. That's why I love this little technique. I said, go in the other room. Here's a yellow pad. I want you to forget that you have families. And I want you to create on paper your perfect wedding. Just the way the two of you would like to have it if your two families did not exist. They said, really? I said, yeah. So they sat down. They were there for a good half an hour or so. They came out and they presented this wedding to me. I read it and I said, sounds like a good wedding. Let's do it. Real simple and real plain. So we actually created a wedding. I had a wonderful opportunity to perform their marriage. We created a wedding where they literally based the wedding around the spiritual concept of the 12 steps and the Narcotics Anonymous program. Then, at the reception, instead of doing all the traditional things that people do, the two of them got up at the reception and both shared their recovery stories. It's almost as if they made it into a gigantic meeting. They had no alcohol. They had a wonderful wedding, and their families were so proud of them, it was unbelievable. Not at all saying, we keep thinking that, will this one like it, will that one like it, will the other one like it? We have to stop for a minute and look within and realize what's healthy for me and healthy for my journey in this process. And so using that surrogate technique and that fantasy technique works. It's a way in which we can learn different techniques of self-parenting. You know what's so beautiful about this process also? It helps me to get away from all those little worries and things that we go through all the time. Because one of the most powerful things that most codependents and adult children get caught up in, it's either worrying about what somebody else thinks, or get caught up in wanting them to constantly be what we want them to be. Now, if I'm going to use a surrogate technique, you don't go to people that don't want to do it, and they get mad at them because they don't want to do it. I get a kick out of this. I had a lady one time in one of the psychiatric hospitals I used to work at, and she said, I will never, 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 never let go of this until my mother acknowledges what she did. I says, well, I guess you have to wait till the afterlife. I said, how old's your mother? 74. I said, how many years hasn't she acknowledged this? My whole entire lifetime. How old are you? 46. Why do you think she's going to acknowledge it? You see, so many times we sit around waiting for somebody to come on board who literally doesn't even know what we're talking about. Then we get mad at them, we get angry at them, we get frustrated with them. We're trying to teach you in this recovery process is the importance of building a strong, healthy support system so I have people in my life that will actually help me and be there for me. But again, one of the danger points, codependence in adult children, we're famous for this. We literally, so many times, want one person to be all these things. Now, if you really basically only have one individual that you trust, one individual that you go to, you're going to get disappointed. Because sometimes they're going to say no. Unless they're a real flaming codependent. Then they'll always be there for you no matter what. And the other thing we have to understand is so many times we have a tendency not only to beat ourselves up, but beat everybody else up. Look how many times we get disappointed because somebody won't come on board with us, then we beat ourselves up because they won't. Maybe I didn't present it properly. Well, see, try to remember something which is so important. We are all human beings, and we have needs. We have physical needs, we have emotional needs, and we have spiritual needs. And I have a right, as a person, and so do you, congratulations. I have a right to create and have my physical needs taken care of. Remember, your body and my body, your body belongs to you. It's your individual possession. Congratulations. And your body, you have to be able to look at it in a positive way and see your body as something sacred and something beautiful. So if your body is sacred and beautiful, then you are going to honor it, respect it, and take care of it. And not get upset because somebody's going to laugh at you because you do things that are healthy for you. I will never forget a gentleman who went through rehab, and he was a nervous wreck because he was coming home and going back to his job. And he said, what am I going to do? Every Friday when we get paid, the gang gets together, they go to a bar, they drink, and they gamble. Now, what am I going to do at 3 o'clock when they pass the paychecks out and everybody in the gang is going to the bar and I'm not going to go? Here we go again. Go back to this technique. Why don't you ask your sponsor or somebody in recovery to be almost like a surrogate parent to you? Have them meet you at 3 o'clock wherever you get your paycheck. Everybody else goes off to the bar. You and your friend in recovery go to a meeting, go for a walk, go someplace else. See how simple that is? Which means I'm not facing this situation all by myself. I'm taking care of me. So I'm going to bring somebody with me who's going to be able to walk the journey with me. I'm protecting myself. The amazing part about this story, I always get a kick out of these stories. About 6 months later, these same guys that were laughing at him, telling him that, you know, because he's not drinking, something's wrong with him, all this kind of stuff and everything else. These same guys would come up to him and say, would you hold part of my paycheck for me so I don't lose the whole thing? See, remember something which is so important. When you learn how to take care of yourself and you learn how to set up ways that you can do things that are healthy, people around you at first will get upset. People around you at first will get nervous. But over a period of time, they probably will readjust, and over a period of time, they will then probably like what's happening to you. You got to remember, we said this 2 sessions ago, so many people are used to us functioning a certain way, operating a certain way, and behaving a certain way. And so when you start making changes, it's kind of eerie. It's almost like, what's wrong with you? At the same time, I like it. So it's confusing, which is normal. Change is always confusing in anything that we do in life. And so the secret is to be in the process of constantly making change. Change is part of our journey we go through in this world. And so what I have to learn is, how do I take care of myself both physically, emotionally, and spiritually? That means I've got to look within me and see what my needs are in all 3 of those areas. What are my physical needs? Do I need to take care of my body? Do I need to change my eating habits? Do I need to live a healthier life? Do I need to do things? And therefore, I may have to make some decisions that are going to upset some people, and that's okay. But I can get support from my surrogate family and my recovery family. Secondly, on an emotional level, I have feelings. And by the way, we all do. Congratulations. Isn't that great? And we're allowed to have feelings. And try to remember this. Feelings are neither right nor wrong. They are just feelings. And whatever you feel, you're allowed to feel. It's so simple and so beautiful. And so we have to learn, as we literally get in touch with our feelings and get in touch with our emotions, where do I share my feelings? Do I share them with people that are going to use them on me? Do I share them with people that are going to laugh at me? I have to be able to have in my life and my journey people that are willing to listen to me, people that will allow me to share them, and people that will simply say to me, thanks for sharing. It's great. You see, when I'm sharing my feelings, I don't necessarily want somebody to give me advice. I want to be able to talk to somebody I trust, I feel comfortable with, so I can share them, and when I share them, it's just a beautiful release. Why do you think in our 12-step programs we have something called no crosstalk? We don't go to meetings to get advice. We go there to be able to share our feelings, to share our experiences, to share all the things going on inside of us. And in listening to others, we learn from one another and we grow. That's how simple it is. See, codependents get nervous at that. Now, I remember a lady one time going to her first CODA meeting. And she came back and she said to me, they didn't come up with any solutions at that meeting. I was waiting for them to tell me exactly what we are supposed to do. And I said, well, go to a therapist, work with that stuff. The meeting isn't for that purpose. But you will find what you have to do over a period of time as you listen and learn from others, what their experiences are and what they've gone through. So it's a process you're going to go through as you learn these things in life. And yet so many of us have a tendency to keep looking for these answers. And so we have to learn on an emotional level something called discernment. There's a time, a place, and ask yourself a question tonight. Do I have people in my life that I trust enough that I can share my feelings with? Do I have people that will listen to me, that will be there for me? Am I able to express my feelings and in expressing them to be able to process them? But guess what? I process them just by sharing, by letting them out. That's what life really is all about. It's so beautiful. It's so simple. And the thing I have to learn too, if someone comes to me and expresses their emotions, I don't have to fix them. I don't have to save them. and I don't have to rescue them. You want to talk about codependency. So many of us have a tendency to want everybody to be okay. Now, do me a favor. If you figure that one out, I really want to get to meet you. Everybody's not going to be okay. And even though we might want certain things, we see it in parents a lot of times. You know, I want my kids to have the best of everything. I say, do me a favor, will you please? Let them have some pain along with it. Let them go through some struggles. Don't be giving them everything. And then get mad because they take advantage of you. Then get angry at them because they literally want to beat you up. We have to learn something. We have to learn to let go and let people be responsible for their behavior. Let them move on their journey. Let them look at life in a positive way. The same thing on a spiritual level. I have a right to build a relationship with the God of my understanding, whatever works for me. And tomorrow I can change that. Isn't that great? It's fantastic. I have a right to put myself around people that will help me to be open to grow and to experience things in different directions. See, the thing I'm trying to get across tonight when we talk about this concept of self-parenting, think about this for a minute. Stand in front of a mirror tonight and say to yourself, if you're a woman, say, I am woman. If you're a man, say, I am man, okay? We'll clear that one up right away. All right. Then say, I am powerful. I have the right to live a healthy life. I have a right to hang around healthy people. I have a right to my feelings. I have a right to be connected to the God of my understanding. I have a right to grow. I have a right just to be me. And in doing so, I have to realize the fact I need to be connected to people that will help me in my growth process, because now I am ready to grow. Look how many times we have tried to get somebody to get well, to work on themselves, and they just weren't ready. And then we get upset at them because they're not ready. After all, I told you what to do. I don't understand why you drink all the time. After all, just stop. That's all. Got that? All right. Takes care of that one. Next. It's just amazing, some of the crazy stuff that we do. Why am I doing that? Because of my own insecurity? Because it's almost like I can't fix you. So I'm getting frustrated. Because I keep telling you things you're supposed to be doing, and you don't do them. I keep telling you you should be in a certain place, and you don't get there. Why? Because I'm telling you what works for me. You have to find out what works for you. So in self-parenting, we have to have the power inside of ourselves to look at ourselves in such a positive way that we can get our needs met and learn how to meet them from healthy people in healthy situations, and learn how to set up for ourselves circumstances where we can get them met from healthy people. That's why I emphasized so much last week the importance of having a connection to other people, of having a healthy support system, of being around people that are in process of growing. I don't want to walk the journey of life by myself. And I realize, I look back in history, my own life, my parents were my parents. They came from their world. They came from their generation. They came from their stuff. So this is not about blaming. And I try to share this with people over and over and over again. The purpose of recovery is not the blame. The purpose of recovery is to be able to look at myself, grow and develop who I am as a person, and be open to move in new directions. I have to be able to parent myself and not sit around and wait for somebody to parent me who hasn't parented me for 50 years. And then be upset at them because they haven't. Maybe they just don't know how to parent. How about that? And after all, you're now 40 years old. You want your diaper changed? What do you want? Let go. Cut the cord and move on. And so many of us, even as adults, have a tendency to see what would be good for somebody else. But we have to learn to cut the cord and let them go through their struggle and through their learning process. Everything comes through struggle and through growth. You know, it's amazing sometimes when you end up doing everything for everybody else, how after a period of time they actually resent you. Isn't that amazing? You know why? You strip them of their power. You are doing everything for them. So of course they're going to resent you. The real concept is learning how to give people power. The old saying, you know, teach them how to fish, don't give them the fish. Then they get their own fish. Same thing as regards everything in life. We have to help people to learn how to become responsible for themselves and grow. And that's all we can do. And that means cutting that cord. That also means being open on our own journey to connecting our umbilical cord to people that are healthy in recovery. That's where my source comes from. And that's why I talked about the fact of being able to have what I call separate families. If we're healthy, we have different families. Recovery family, blood family, community family, work family. We have all kinds of families running around the place here. And each one of them is part of my journey. Now, do I go to work and talk to my fellow workers and do a fifth step with them? I hope not. You wonder why they basically have signing a petition to have you moved out of the company? Just scared them half to death. They go and announce to everybody at work, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I was a drunk for so many years. Too much information. But you know what? I'm also a sex addict. Isn't that fantastic? Maybe next week I'll find another thing out that I am. And when I do find out, I'll let you know. And you wonder why they keep looking at you and saying, I'm getting away from this guy. This guy's a little crazy. See what we do to ourselves? We have to learn how to discern. There's a time and a place for everything. If I'm going to parent myself, I've got to learn how to take care of myself. I have to learn how to make decisions that are healthy for me. And that also means detachment. It also means being open to new things and new directions. It also means being able to set boundaries. Isn't that a wonderful word? Most codependents and adult children don't even know what it means. We're too busy crossing everybody else's boundaries. We have none of our own. So we have to learn how to set boundaries. And self-parenting teaches you that. See, one of the things I'm trying to bring out tonight, and I'll kind of dovetail it into next week's lecture, is we have to learn how to begin what I call the most important part of recovery. And that is to begin to look at everything in life, no matter what it is, through positive eyes. Even trauma, hurt, and pain. The purpose of true recovery is not about finding out what's wrong with me. I'm going to tell you a secret tonight. There's nothing wrong with anybody in this room. Congratulations. That takes care of that one. That's done. Secondly, it's not my job to find out what's wrong with me, nor it is my job to look at my history, to look at my past, and to blame other people for my life. Now, did you experience major traumas? Yes, you may have. Did hurt take place? Yes. I've got a choice. I can sit in it, or I can process it and grow from it and learn from it. Remember, for every negative thing that occurred in your life, there is a positive. So one of the things we do before we actually do family of origin work is we have people take the time to learn how to affirm themselves in a positive way. I mentioned last week about writing a love letter to yourself. Well, guess what? It's not so easy, is it? You know why it's not easy? We're not used to that. So I tell people, try some different little techniques to learn how to affirm yourself in a positive way. I'm going to spend the whole session next week talking about doing positive affirmations. My nickname for that is doing positive brainwashing. See how simple it is? It's almost like I have to reprogram myself to think positive. Think about this just for a couple of minutes. We live in a very strange, strange world. You can have a wonderful, fantastic day. And then at 7:30 till 8 o'clock, something goes wrong. Guess what you're going to talk about tomorrow? The half an hour that went wrong. You won't say one word about the 23 and a half hours that were great. We live in a world where we look at the negative all the time. We can see this in the media. We see it in crazy places. So as a result, we have to be able to transform ourselves into thinking positively. Now, I'll give you some very simple, some very beautiful little techniques to get you ready for next week's lecture. I love doing this. What I would like you to do for the next 7 days, and once again, I have to say it, if for any reason you don't get it done, you can still come back. Okay? I have to always bring that out because codependents call me up and they say, I didn't get the assignment done. Can I come back? Yes, you can come back. I would like you tonight before you go to bed, go into the bathroom, close the door so nobody sees you. Stand in front of the mirror, look yourself directly in the eye and say, you're special, you're beautiful, and I love you. Then go up to the mirror and kiss yourself goodnight. Now, nobody's got to know you're doing it, so don't worry. But I'll tell you a secret. If you did that every night for a long period of time, you will see a transformation take place inside of you. It's amazing how it works. But it's repetition that makes it work. When you first do it, it's weird. It's strange. But it works. It's called mirror therapy. You want to really have some fun, get up in the morning, go into the bathroom, look in the mirror if you dare, and say the exact same thing, but before you kiss yourself in the morning, brush your teeth. What can I tell you? It's an amazing thing to be able to kiss that object that's in the mirror. It's totally amazing before you put it together. But you know, you also be able to laugh at yourself a little bit. And that's the fun part of recovery, to be able to laugh at self. So loosen up a little bit. Have some fun. When you really have some fun, this always does work, and it's scary. Ask a couple of friends of yours that you really feel comfortable with. Ask them to write you a letter of affirmation telling you what a wonderful, fantastic person you are. You'll be amazed. People see so much beauty in us that we do not see in ourselves. I've said this so many times. We are the toughest on ourselves. We're hard on ourselves. It's amazing sometimes how people can see so much strength, so many beautiful things inside of us, and we look at them as if, what's wrong with you? You know what's so hard about us as codependents and adult children? We don't know how to take compliments. Somebody says, what a great job you did. Well, it wasn't that great. We have to learn how to say, thank you. Thank you. And feel good about it. See, if I feel good, maybe I should feel guilty. Because I feel good. I love that one. It's totally amazing. What I'm trying to say is a real simple thing. This is not about beating yourself up. It's about healing. It's about growing. It's about moving on. Because whatever happened to any of us in our life, whatever happened, happened. I have a choice. I can process what happened, let it become my teacher, and be able to look at it through positive eyes. Or I can sit in it in a negative way. Even when it comes to relationships or things that have happened, realize if a relationship doesn't work, it's only because it wasn't supposed to work. See how simple it is? The secret is why did that person come into my life? Maybe he's going to teach me how to deal with aggravation. I don't know. They come into your life for a purpose, learn your lesson, and then move on. It's all part of the journey, because there are no absolutes. And so when we talk about self-parenting, we're talking about building a support system, setting up a surrogate family, learning how to identify our needs, and then learning how to get them met from people that are healthy. And in doing so, learning how to take care of all the things we didn't receive, we can still receive as an adult. You're allowed to be a child. You're allowed to celebrate. And you're allowed to enjoy life. That's the fun part of it. Hope it helps you understand the aspect of self-parenting just a little bit better. Don't be afraid of that fantasy family. You can use that in very many ways in creating different things you want to find out your needs. And we'll continue the series next week. We'll talk about affirmations and the affirmation process.